Hello and welcome back to CSS Font, and in this video we will be covering different ways in which CSS or Cascade style sheet programming language is used to style your font and is used to change the font face, font style, font size, and the way it is stretched, the way it is rendered using your browser. So we're going to study the different kinds of font properties and the different kind of font code that you can, the tag that you can use within CSS to define this font of your HTML document. Okay, I have this what we call this notepad ready, and in this notepad I'll just save it as CSS font notepad. Okay, this is the from the previous video. CSS IDs can be very useful. We did that in the previous session, and I'm just going to use the same browser to display the font the way the font is displayed. Alright, so we have, what is the purpose of CSS font properties enable you to change the look of your text. Okay, for example, you can assign a font family, you can apply font that is to be bold or italic or formatting, change the size, and much more. Okay, let's look at CSS font family. Okay, this is the tag. Okay, the font family, actually it's the paragraph tag, but the property is called font family. Okay, and font family property allows you to set the family of the font. Okay, and let me show you how it works. It's very simple. We've done this before, but we're just trying to explain it with the CSS perspective. Okay, supposing you have a paragraph here. Okay, and let's begin with the head tag. Okay, and within the head tag, okay, let's begin with HTML, and within the HTML you can write head, and within the head you could include the title, and within the title you could say CSS font styles. Okay, and just close the title tag. Okay, and then you can close the head tag as well. Then I need you to open the body tag. Open the body tag, and within the body tag I need you to write, just write paragraph P, and within the paragraph define the style as style is equal to font family. Okay, I will explain this in a bit, just hang it there, be very patient. Write Georgia, that's the name of a font. Write Garamond, write serif, and semicolon, and close the inverted commas. Okay, just write within the style, write font family Georgia Garamond serif, and then close the paragraph style, paragraph tag, and then say this text is rendered in either Georgia Garamond or the default serif font, depending on which font. It's okay if the line is not being wrapped up. On which font the user system has. Okay, and I'm going to close the bracket, put a period in here, and I'm just going to hit enter. It's much better that way. Code is much readable, but when I want to close the tag, I'm just going to hit enter, and just close the body tag. And lastly, you need to close the HTML tag. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save it. If there are any errors, we're going to find out, we're going to fix them. Okay, and I'm going to try to run this file. I have saved it here as CSS font. Alright, let me get rid of the other one. Okay, this text is rendered in either Georgia, Garamond, or the default serif font, depending on which the font the user system has. Okay, this means I've told you before that if you create a font family to define the paragraph tag, what happens is the browser would try to read the first font. If it is available, if it can render the text in Georgia, it would display in Georgia. If not, then Garamond. If not, then serif font. If not, then default whatever is stored within the browser. Okay, so this is a good programming practice. You need to add 3 or 4 font faces, font names to your CSS language, the code, so that you are able to have more control over what font is displayed on your users page. Because sometimes the Internet Explorer is going to render the page font differently. Chrome would sometimes, it happens sometimes, it's not very common, but it happens. Some other Safari browser or some other Firefox or many other browsers, they just display the text in a different way. And in order to have more control over the text display, you need to provide a bunch of font names, so that if any one of these is available, the user is able to experience them according to how the programmer intended. That's about it. No rocket science to this. Okay, now let's look at the font size. Okay, I have this whole thing written here, and what I'm going to do is now I'm going to play with font size. Okay, I have this text displayed here, and let's look at the font size. It enables you to set the size of the text. Okay, for example, if you want to add style, I'm just going to change all of this. Okay, let's just delete the entire thing. Okay, and I'm going to hit enter and close the paragraph tag before I forget. Alright, now within the style you want to add font size. In CSS, this is how you define the font size, 20 pixels. Okay, students, once I define all of these definitions, I'm going to put it together in a code. Okay, in a block of code, I'm going to put it together for you. So just hang in there, just try to understand, grasp the basics. Okay, these are the different tools available for you when you create styling on your web page. So okay, we are talking about font, and within the font we're talking about font size. Let's manipulate the font size to 20 pixels, semicolon, and close the inverted commas, and close the style tag, and then write text. This text is using a font size of 20 pixels. Simple. Okay, it's like a self-explanatory example going on here. Okay, I've closed the tag here, so I'm not going to worry about it. Let me just save it. Okay, and let's try to refresh it. This text is using a font size of 20 pixels. Perfect. 20 pixels. This is a bit larger than the previous one. You can notice that. Okay, the other thing that I want to teach you within this video is the font size adjust. Okay, the font size adjust, this is what it's written like. Style is equal to font size adjust. Okay, let's forget about all of this. Okay, the font size adjust enables you to adjust the X height to make the fonts more legible. Okay, what is the X height? Okay, let's find out. For example, you want to adjust the paragraph font size adjust to 0.58, okay, semicolon, and close your inverted commas. Okay, this text is using a font size adjust value period. Okay, let's see how it is rendered on my browser. Okay, things are a little bit unpredictable when it comes to different browsers. Okay, let me delete this. We don't need two closed p tags. Okay, value v, font size adjust, double colon, 0.58, semicolon, inverted commas closed, close the paragraph tag, bracket, reverse bracket. This text is using a font size adjust value, okay, and paragraph close. I'm going to save this and refresh the page here. All right, take a look. It's become even more smaller. Okay, it's adjusted, which means that it has lost a lot of size here. Adjusted for X value. Okay, basically the font size adjust property is useful because for a given size some fonts are harder to read, okay, than the others. This can become an issue if your first choice font is unavailable, okay, and the next font available has a different aspect ratio, potentially making the backup font harder to read. So you can use font size adjust to adjust the X height to make it more legible. Okay, depending on what kind of browser that you have. For example, some browsers, for example, if it's your first choice in the font family, Georgia, okay, when the browser is reading Georgia, you are not able to, it's not very legible. Okay, the size that you have determined in your document, it is not very legible to the user. So what happens is there is a standard size that's called legible, that's called readable. Okay, if it's below that size, the font size will be adjusted automatically, provided that you have this line font size adjust style applied to the paragraph, which means that just adjust it to 0.58. okay, it's just a measurement. Adjust it to 0.58 if it is not very legible. If it is too small, make it a bit bigger. That's what it means. Okay, it's a percentage of what the font size is. Make it a bit larger than what it is right now by this figure. Basically, that's what it means. Alright, then in the next video I'm going to continue with the font, but I'm going to talk about font stretch property, font style property, and a couple of more before I wrap up this font series. Alright then, see you then. Take care. Bye bye.